Hello everybody. So, we've just had some technical difficulties. Wi-Fi cutting off, children having battles, you know, the usual of being trapped in your own four walls for God knows how long. So today's cooking class is going to be a quick and easy one, using stuff that you probably already have in the kitchen, in the fridge, in the pantry, etc. So it's actually not my recipe. It's from my course, actually, from my culinary nutrition course. It's one of Megan's recipes. We're tweaking it a little bit, but it's her Vegilicious Quiche. So what we're doing is creating a quiche with almost like a crustless crush. So the recipe that I'm using, her crust is actually made out of millet, which is a seed that pretends to be a grain. I know it's very confusing. So the entire culinary nutrition course is gluten-free. And so millet as a replacement for your traditional flaky crust means that it's much more highly digestible. Millet is an ancient grain that you might recognize from birdseed. It looks similar to quinoa, it cooks similar to quinoa, it is full of protein, it is nutrient dense, but it's the least allergenic of all of the seed grains that are out there, which is why Megan uses it in this recipe, because it makes it more available to just about anybody. So I'm going to turn the pan on behind us so it starts warming while we get organized. So it's a really straightforward recipe. What I'm going to do, I'm actually going to get Madeline to crack some eggs over here.
Yay.
Yep, you guys can crack eggs together. Okay, so you come on this side then.
Because they're getting on my...
While she's cracking eggs, I am going to chop up. So the recipe calls for a small red onion. All I have is giant ones. So I'm using a couple of shallots today that were in our produce box last week. And the nice thing about a shallot, however you want to say it, is that it has, it gives you the oniony flavor, but it's a little milder so that it's not quite as overwhelming in your recipe. So I'm just going to chop these babies up. Okay, just a second. When cracking eggs with children, always be prepared for a call for help. Oh, we got a double yolker.
Double yolker! Woo! I don't want double yolk.
Okay, Ashlyn's going to do one. The shallots give us a nice oniony flavor, but it's not too overwhelming.
Oh, yeah, you're going to watch out so you don't get eggshell in there.
So, one of the greatest joys of childhood is learning how to crack eggs. Yeah, we got some shell in there. Hold on, please don't try and crack another one until I get the shell out.
I get the last egg. And then we got to wash our hands.
It won't just be the millet that's a little bit crunchy.
It will be eggshells.
Funny aside, the egg cracking was the senior citizens' favorite part of the kids class I taught a few weeks back before the world came crashing down. They said it was the funniest part of the entire class because watching the kids crack eggs is entertaining, if nothing else. My friend Sherry will be happy to see I have her Enviro cloth, Norwex cloth over here to wipe my hands because I can't reach the sink, so that they're nice and clean as we move forward, so I can keep chopping the shallots here. So the beautiful thing about a quiche is that you can pretty much add whatever you like to it. So this recipe is
I just cracked it with no eggshells.
amazing. So you go around, put the shell, and wash your hands. Please wash your hands somewhere else because we can't use the sink right now because it is currently holding up our cameras. So this recipe, Vegilicious Quiche, is our protein's coming in from the eggs, and we're loading it up. So, oh God, here, yeah. Welcome to my kitchen. Okay, yes, go wash your hands with Madeline, please. I will get the shells out. Perhaps next time I will leave the egg cracking for me and they can cut the onions. So, as I was trying to say, the Vegilicious Quiche is going to be loaded. We have...
Can I beat them with the fork?
Yes, please do that. That's quiet and non-destructive in the corner here. We have the shallots, we have diced red pepper, diced mushrooms. Yes, slowly.
No,
If there were sound effects, it would be wah wah. We are adding fresh chopped greens, so I have spinach and arugula mix. Girls, they can't hear me if you are talking. The joys of cooking with children. We're gonna add some chopped fresh greens, so I have rocket and spinach. What I'm gonna do momentarily, once the shallots are ready, is throw them with the peppers and the mushrooms into the pan back here that I'm warming up, so that we can chop up the tomatoes. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna throw these in the pan. I just have a little bit of avocado oil in there. Yes, you can chop tomatoes while I get the crust ready.
Okay. Choppy.
Cut them into 4 even pieces if you can. You can use ghee or butter in the pan here if you want. Again, Megan's course is dairy-free, gluten-free, and refined sugar-free. So all of the recipes that we used during the course were that. This, her cookbook allows for variations. So we are going to add cheese to this one. A good quiche has cheese, and her recipe does recommend that it is pastured cheese. So if you can find pastured cheese, that's great. If you can't, again, what I love about Epicure is that we are not, how do we put it? We're passionate realists. We understand that not everybody is going to be able to cook organic, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, pasture-raised, everything. So my everyday recipes allow for a little bit of...
Do you think Ashley can also cut? No.
No, she can just keep stirring the eggs.
Keep stirring eggs? Okay.
Yeah.
She's afraid of them.
So that's kind of the beautiful thing about the marriage of both worlds. The culinary nutrition gives me lots of usable information about why food can be used to make us feel better and live better, and Epicure makes some of those everyday recipes so much easier to execute because some of the hard work is already done for us. So I used our smoky mojo. It's actually not available right now, but this is what I used to infuse the millet so that it gives a little bit of a smoky, spicy crust base for us. I'm going to crack in a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of our chili flakes and garlic right into the egg mixture before we pour it into the crust, again to give us a little extra flavor. Are those chopped, Madeline? Because we need to get that process moving, please. I'm going to start making the crust. So again, I used to have a lovely glass pie pan, and I don't know what happened to it. It was a wedding present, and I'm pretty sure it got forgotten at a house when we brought a pie, and pie plate never came home. So I'm actually going to use the Epicure silicone round cake pan today, so that I don't even have to grease it, which is nice. I cooked the millet in our multi-purpose steamer, so it cooked very similarly to the quinoa. So it's 1 cup of the dry millet soaked for about 2 hours this morning. And then, like I've mentioned in many of my videos before, anytime you're soaking a grain, a pulse, a legume, a seed, a nut, you want to rinse the soap water away. So I'm just going to turn the heat down behind this here a little bit. So rinse the soaked millet and then throw the 1 cup of soaked millet into the steamer with 2 cups of water, and then I added a teaspoon of the smoky mojo just to give us a little bit of extra flavor. Cover and microwave for 15 minutes, and all of the liquid was absorbed, and then it just kind of sat. I let it sit for 5 minutes with the lid on after cooking, and then take the lid off, and it will get nice and fluffy. So I'm just kind of going to stick it in the pan here with my hand. So you want to cover the bottom and pack it tight. I might actually use a spoon just to pack it down so that you get... Okay, did you get it out?
Yeah, it's on the
Okay,
floor.
so take it out. Just put it on the side of the cutting board there. You want it about a 1/4 inch thick on the bottom. Not so thick that it's all crust when you're done, but not so thin that the egg is just going to soak right through and not give you that nice crunchy crust. And then just push it up the sides. I know our camera angle's a little hard here to see. And then push it up the sides like any other pie crust. The nice thing about how deep this cake pan is that you can get a really nice like Chicago style crust here with your, yeah, it's a type of pizza. It's Chicago style. It's a nice deep dish with lots of crust and lots of cheese. I have the cake pan resting on one of our 1/4 sheet pans, and I guess my table is just the right surface that it's just letting me spin it like a cake decorating plate there. Yeah. Okay, can you move it along with the tomatoes? Everything else in the pan back there is going to be burnt by the time you're done cutting those tomatoes.
I know,
It doesn't take that long to cut a few tomatoes.
That's not a few. A few's like 3.
The giant is a big one.
Yeah, the giant one's hard. I already tried.
Well, then if you're
I
struggling,
saved it for the last.
let me know and I will finish that task so that we can move on here. People are watching. They want to actually see
what happens?
us cook here. Although I'm sure part of their entertainment value is watching the prep with you guys. Yep.
You make it funny?
Well, you make it funny. My facial expressions probably add to the hilarity. I don't know. All right, so there's our crust ready to go whenever this guy gets done over here.
I'm not a guy, I'm a girl.
Yeah. Okay, Ashlyn, I think you're good there.
I'm just checking if there's any.
Okay, I'm gonna
do that because that one's not working.
I just need to get this done. So
Can I pour it into the pan?
So the reality is that the tomatoes and the greens don't need that long. Just hang on. Don't need that long in the pan because they will wilt fairly quickly, and then we're gonna throw them in with the egg and the cheese and everything else, and then it's all gonna go in the oven anyway. So we want to cut the greens a little bit so that they wilt faster.
What are we gonna do with the extra?
Don't worry.
Are we gonna put it on top?
No. We will do something with that when we're not on camera. We will eat it as leftovers later. Right now, we're just mostly concerning ourselves with what we are teaching in our class. Okay, so the greens and the tomatoes get to go in as well.
You're gonna get really sick. Can I mix it? All 4 of us are trying.
Sure.
Yeah. But when after only 2 people, you're gonna get really sick.
Back up a little bit. All right, so we're gonna wilt those. Here, my friend Karen will be happy to see my fridge march. She's my Tupperware lady. All right, so while we let Madeline wilt the greens and the tomatoes, okay, keep it on the heat.
Or you're gonna get really sick.
Send help. Oh wait, you can't. Nobody's allowed out. All right, so Ashlyn has managed to get all the eggshell out. We're gonna throw the cheese in here. Once Madeline has wilted our veggies, yeah, you can stir that. Just stir. Stay right where you are. You don't need to move the bowl. Okay. Just keep it moving around here. Just want the greens wilted enough that we can stir them in. Don't want it too hot. Otherwise, putting this into the egg will cook the egg before we have a chance to pour it into the pan. So there's another little learning for you. A lot of the time you'll see in a recipe where it says to temper something, if you're trying to mix a hot ingredient with a cold ingredient, when you're making yogurt and things like that, you want to take a little bit of the hot ingredient and add it to the cool ones so that it doesn't just start to cook it. All right, Ashlyn, I need you to move for a second, please, because I'm coming over with the hot pan.
Scoochie, scoochie.
Okay, no, not move the bowl, move your person. Okay, what I might actually do is I'm just gonna put the hot veggies right into the crust actually, and we'll pour the egg mixture over top so that we don't. So if it does start cooking, as we mix the colder ingredients with the hotter ingredients, that's okay. It's cooking in the crust, and we want that done anyway because that's what's going to happen when we put it in the oven. So just kind of move your veggies around until they are nicely in the pan.
Did we have to preheat the oven?
Yes, the oven has been up to temperature because I was set up and waiting, and then the Wi-Fi went out, and everything. All right, so now we're gonna mix the egg and cheese.
350?
Yep, the oven is set to 350.
Fahrenheit?
Now you need to put it away because you're going to get really sick.
We're not in the UK, so most people watching, unless Uncle Scott is out there watching, or Uncle Gordy and your cousins. 350 is Fahrenheit, and most people know that because we are in Canada here, and or the US. All right, so egg and cheese is mixed in with the veggies.
I'm putting it away.
So everybody is in the pan. Everybody can see. I'm going to put it into our preheated oven. You girls need to move out of the way so I can actually open the oven. And then it bakes for about 20 to 25 minutes until it's set. Again, you guys are not hanging around with me for that. I'm going to put it in, set the timer. I will come around and say my goodbyes to you guys because you don't want to sit with us